So please join me in welcoming Chet Linton. Thanks, Chet.
Thanks, James. Isn't this a great event? Really, it's wonderful. Let's give everybody that's here from Microsoft that's put this on a great big hand. You know, I have to admit, this is my first forum. And I'd heard about this event, heard how wonderful it was, and it always conflicted with other things that I've done, travel and other of the myriad of commitments that I have. I need my clicker. And being here, though, and being among you, and having so much fun on that first night, pictures taken, sharing experiences, really helped me realize what a great group this was, and how many of you, all of you, in fact, are so dedicated to making the world truly a better place. You know, I woke up this morning at 1:30, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and laid in bed for about 3.5 hours, and asked myself this question: why am I here? What am I doing? Or why am I here? And it reminded me of one time when I was sitting in a class when I was about 15 years old, grade 10, in a math class. And my math teacher announced to all of us, "There's a surprise quiz today. Please pull out your pencils." Well, being the smart 15-year-old boy that I was, I pulled out my pen and started to take the surprise quiz. The teacher stepped up, snatched the paper from underneath my pen and said, "I'm failing you on this quiz." I said, "You're failing me? I'm taking it. I know the information." He said, "But you have a pen. You can't take the quiz." That happened 3 times. And every time I would say to myself, why am I here? Why am I in this class? And eventually I left. Went into computer programming, actually, with punch cards. I'm kind of an old guy. But the reason why I am here today is really because of our cause. Our cause is an organization. And as James mentioned, it's all about 100%. It's doing those things to help all students be ready for college and career. As an organization, we have dedicated ourselves to helping teachers become effective. Because if teachers aren't effective, students won't be ready. In order for students and teachers to be effective, we need to be able to create the systems and the innovations that will really enable all of you and your leaders and all those with whom you work to have these things actually happen. And the other reason is to share the things that we're seeing. And I'll show you a few quick examples in a few moments. And honestly, one of the big drivers is my family, my kids, my grandchildren. I know your children. It's important. Your nieces, your nephews, your families. It's more than just a job. Education is a passion. It's what we all care about, right? It's okay to make noise in this presentation. Yes, we care. That's why we're here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the issues that are going on globally, especially taking root in the United States right now. One is student-centered personalized learning, and the other is teacher effectiveness, and both of these things are greatly impacted by learning environments. So first, we've heard a lot of talk about today's learner, but what are the key characteristics that we need to know? One, they're digital natives. To them, and most students around the world know that they know somebody. If they don't have a phone, they should or will. They have access to one. Really, they carry the knowledge of the world in their hands. No longer is knowledge a hard thing to find. At any place, at any moment, we can look up any question we have and find an accurate answer, right? It's amazing now. And then another interesting point is they read messages. We always talk about read-through on emails. Did you know that students read 100% of their text messages? Boys, in fact, text message about 3,000 a month. Young girls, about 4,000 a month. Text messages. They're reading constantly. They're sending notes. They're sharing. They can't remember a time without the internet. It's always been here. I can remember times when I had to dial a phone, and I had a TV without a remote control. Crazy things. Another thing, how many of you are here associated with universities or higher ed institutions? Can we see hands? Students don't worry about publishing. They make a video and they publish it. It gets liked or disliked. If it's popular, if it's good, it can be seen and viewed around the world in a moment. Publishing is not an issue for students. And then finally, they desire to change the world. They really want to. They're socially motivated. They want to make a big difference. So it's important that they learn the skills for today that are going to help them in their jobs. And it's up to all of us to provide them with these skills. So what are they? I've heard for the last 10 years that we are now teaching students to be ready for jobs that have not yet been created. In my company, we have several positions that did not exist 5 years ago. Do you know we have people that blog, that get paid to blog. We pay people to actually listen. I've hired a social listener now that listens to what the buzz is on the internet, and we respond to it. I have people that actually get paid to tweet. This is crazy to me, but I'm told we need it, and actually I know we do. So the jobs of today are changing, and especially the jobs of tomorrow will. So what are the skills that are critical? Students must be able to solve problems. They need to be able to think critically. They need to collaborate and be able to collaborate across the globe and across networks. They need to be adaptable because things are continually changing. It's very important that they're creative in the way they think, the way they act, to be entrepreneurial. And then also they need to be effective communicators, not only in those text messages, but also in written form and orally. So this really is about students, helping all students have the skills and develop the skills to be successful in this ever-changing global environment. So as I shift to talk a little bit about the environment of today, I was in a meeting in Palm Springs, California about 2 weeks ago. I was able to listen to several CEOs of big companies. FedEx, Fred Smith from FedEx spoke, the CEO of Marriott, the CEO of Mondelez, which formerly was Kraft, you know, the Oreo company that owns Cadbury chocolates. Big organizations. So we're talking about the critical need for workforce and education and how it impacts the globe. Then I went to a session that was focused on environments, workplace environments. And the speakers on the panel all started to mention words that sounded very familiar. The first said, it's important that the space is collaborative. I said, God, is this today? And that it's designed for problem solving. I thought, wow, that sounds so familiar. I reached out and grabbed my device that I wished was a Microsoft Surface, or that my name was Maria and I would win one. So, but unfortunately, I had to use another device. So I started to make notes. The space needs to be flexible. It needs to be adaptable. It needs to create an environment where employees can be innovative. And we want to encourage collisions. Collisions? Wrecks? Automobiles? No, more employee interaction. People need to communicate and collaborate. This creates a more healthy environment and one in which employees are more successful and actually more healthy. So you can see examples up here of environments today that are not filled with cubicles. That's the environment that I'm used to seeing. So now they're open, they're designed for people to be able to share and to get into those things that are really important, to have dialogue that really matters. Now, it's time to shift to hear a little bit from students and about their voice as they describe student-centered learning. I have an example from Detroit, Michigan. Detroit is a city that was greatly impacted by the recession a few years ago. Basically, everybody that could leave Detroit did. These houses that are here are actually burned out, vacant, and there are 65 square kilometers of homes that are vacant in this area. About half of the population left. The schools are in disarray. And now what's happened 3 years later, the learning is actually taking place. There are exciting things going on. We are actually working in the lowest performing 15 schools in the city of Detroit with a group that was formed by the governor called the Education Achievement Authority. So this is led by some very innovative leaders, and we're going to listen to what students have to say about their new student-centered environment.
Student-centered learning is like students learn at their own pace. Student-centered learning is where students are put in a class based on their instructional level, not by the grade level, because we don't have grades here. No.
Some people don't learn as quickly as the level 17. So some people are level 15, 14, 13.
And lower. Students were put in the level because they weren't they're not going to be forced to learn as fast as other kids, because some kids, they can learn at their own pace.
Say if you like the class on one subject, you still on a subject that they passed already, you in your own pace. So you gotta be in a group like that's like doing what you're doing.
We in a group with somebody else that can help me. Like if I don't understand, they already mastered it, they can come over and help me because they mastered it.
Do teachers act differently in these classrooms?
No,
They teach differently.
Describe that. How do they teach?
They actually sit there and work with you to make sure you understand it, instead of giving you a worksheet and just say, here's what you got to do today.
It'd be more than one teacher. It'd be more than one teacher in the
We got
classroom.
like a word wall, and it's like you can move your clip, say if you need help, or you need ready to test, or you ready to conference with your teacher.
That's parking lot.
Parking
Yeah.
lot. So
That's the
whenever
word in my
you
board.
get done, where am I?
Then we're in my borders, like if you need help, if you're ready to conference, you ready to take the test, are you working hard?
Conference. We'll move your clip to conference.
They show us like different ways to learn instead of learning the
What
other way
posts
that
on
everybody
paper?
else teach.
Is this different from last year?
Yes, very
It's
different.
very
We didn't
different.
even have
Last year we had a bad learning process. This year was better.
Why was it
have
bad
that
last year?
Because the teachers
Because-
wasn't really telling us what to do. They just
They
give
just
a
say,
worksheet and tell us to do
and
it.
don't tell it. They say we don't.
They don't
And we named
describe
it all
our
excellent.
instructions.
And they didn't give us grades based on our work.
They
gave
gave
us
by
all-
our behavior.
Yes, by our behavior.
Yeah.
We don't have grades.
We don't have grades.
We have
We
numbers.
Get, we
Yeah,
get
numbers.
graded. It's you. Like we create this piece of evidence. Like the evidence, is like to show that you understand the learning target that you're on for that week. And if you get a 3 or 4, it shows that you have mastered that learning target. You don't move into the next level until you complete all the learning targets.
Okay.
Okay, so like it, don't like it.
Like it.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. I do.
I love it.
So this is great. The students are involved, they're engaged. Literally, as they said, last year, it was horrible. Did you hear the young boy who said, the student, it was a bad learning process? Yeah, he knew. The students start to use the right language even. Now, in this next example, one of the other key points about student-centered learning, or personalized learning as it's often referred, is student-created projects. So we're going to look at a school in Hawaii. You'll see them walk through the classrooms in this whole video, and they're in the school. You'll see what that means now. So it's very different. It's called the Western Hawaiian Exploratory Academy. This is on the Big Island in Hawaii, out in the middle of the Pacific
So there's
Ocean.
on-campus projects and off-campus projects.
Yeah.
How many on-campus, how many off-campus?
There's probably about 10 different off-campus projects. There's way too many on-campus projects to count.
This is the Deep Sea Project.
This is a tropical fish area.
This is a rainmaker.
First stage of the aquaponics system is
Student-made reef tank. Compost tea project.
robotics team.
Native ponds project.
Observation projects.
This is a project that I personally started. This quarter, we are comparing the plankton diversity, whether it's homogeneous or heterogeneous.
So a very unique environment. Did you notice the classroom or the school? It's outside. They have tarps that cover the classrooms to prevent the sun from being a little too intense. This is a school that had almost no money that went out, and with the students' help, created an incredible environment. They now have the highest literacy rate in the state of Hawaii. They don't teach literacy. But the students are engaged. They have to write all their projects up, and I would love to tell you more about it later. So let's talk just a little bit about learning environment. In the panel, I know, will drill deeply into this. This next example is from a school. This one is more advanced. It's in New Hampshire. We just videotaped this about 2 weeks ago.
I've seen at Manchester a beginning of a transformation. The school has embraced this idea of customizing, personalizing, individualizing learning.
Those of you who have your tablets, you probably want to take a picture of this one too.
They've taken some broad steps to helping the students feel like this is their school, that they have a voice and they can be accounted for and cared for.
In this class, I find it very interesting. I like it.
You can use that. Keep them in tight. That way you keep your fingers out of the way, okay?
Manchester School of Technology in Manchester, New Hampshire has launched an innovative 4-year high school program founded on a competency-based educational model that embeds rigorous academic standards into career and technical education courses.
We want to look at new ways that competency can be developed, and we want students to be able to perform, to show us that they have a deep understanding and they're able to articulate.
So we always go medial from the arm, which is side.
They want you to understand that there's more than just going to high school, and taking classes, and passing classes, and then going to college.
We're marrying academics and career and tech together because it goes hand in hand.
So would you say those students were engaged? Yes, they are. And they're doing some wonderful things. Again, new projects, new programs that are starting to gain a lot of momentum and traction. So we're excited to capture these things. By the way, if you drop off your business card or your information, we'll give you access to these videos and 2,300 other videos of best practices. And we'll give you access throughout this next year. So please stop by. Now, let's talk a little bit about effective teachers. Oh, look at this. Hey, hey. Shout out to our friends from Latin America. So many of you are trailblazers. You're out doing things that are unique in your schools, even unique in your countries, which is wonderful. It's fantastic. But if every student is going to be successful, every teacher needs to be able to do things similar to what you are doing. Those types of things or practices that got you here. So in order to do that, we ask questions. How can we help teachers create these learning environments? How do we do it? How can we ensure that they're actually effective? And so today what we're seeing is more collaborative space. So what does it look like? What do you actually do? Well, we're seeing no more sage on the stage. No more lecturing in front of students. It's a little bit of the learning, not all of the learning. Teachers become facilitators of learning. Students become very much the drivers of what they're learning about. As we've heard in a couple of these programs, they're competency or mastery based. Students don't progress until they actually understand the material. I know some of you do that in your countries already and in your schools. There's a lot of flipping the classroom. Now this means that students actually go home and figure out the question to the assignment and then discuss the assignment or the answer when they get to class. So students are thinking about what would help me achieve this particular answer? What questions would I need to ask? So this is changing the way students think. Remember, we need students now or workers who can problem solve and think critically about things and be able to adapt. And so this is what's happening with homework or what goes on in the classroom. And then, of course, this student-centered personalized learning is very critical. Here are a couple of examples of classrooms today and some of the things that are going on and how we're seeing the environment evolve. So I've mentioned teacher effectiveness. In order for these occurrences to take place, to see students be truly successful and teachers be impactful, to be effective, what does that really mean? How do we help teachers get there? Well, they need to be trained. They need to have professional development about what effective really means, which they need to shift their beliefs that all students can be successful. We've realized that when teachers understand how to meet the needs of every learner, they can. We see math scores triple. We see reading scores double. We see dropout rates decrease. Students wanting to go to college because teachers know how to engage them in these environments. They become facilitators of learning. So teachers guide the learning. Students create projects like we saw in Hawaii in that school. And they have very high expectations for every student because they believe every student can be successful. This is a big shift. One of the other things that's very important is that the learning environment is engaging, that students want to do things that are important to them, that they can be passionate about, and it's okay to have fun. And that things become systematized so that the implementation is successful. So one of the other key pieces is that there's a process here, continual ongoing improvement that's designed to help teachers continually progress and grow and develop. And then finally, there are tools and resources to help. So whether they're mobile devices or web-based devices to do observations and capture that information, to help guide teachers, to show them videos and examples of what these things actually look like are critical. So I would like to invite you to join us in our cause, to shift your own beliefs if you don't already believe that every student can be successful, to share the knowledge that you gain here at this global forum with your peers back home, to help them to begin to shift their beliefs about every student being successful, to take these things that you learned today from the panel about creating environments that are engaging and that really help facilitate learning and being systemic about it, talking to your leaders and you who are leaders with your peers about creating these environments will have wonderful impact on learning. Thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity to be here today.